Did anybody not know this is who a segment of the young Republicans were? I can tell you all young Republicans are like this, but everybody knew that this was a kind of draw for a number of them. There's only one thing to look at. J.D. Vance said, "Oh, it's just a lot of pearl clutching. It's just Heinrich and Reinhardt and Klaus and a bunch of the boys having a little fun. Maybe they broke a couple of shop windows. Who gives a damn?" All right, so anytime that any Democrat says something really stupid, all right, then it's all, oh my God, and such you got to read what J.D. Vance said. That's right, J.D. fucking Vance, the vice president of the United States, thought it was funny.
Hey, James, President Trump is taking victory laps for his role in Israeli-Hamas ceasefire in Gaza. I mean, deservedly so. He did what Joe Biden should have done, and he brought heavy pressure on Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu. Those Israeli hostages who are alive were returned, and it was a great day to celebrate. Now, there are some critical caveats. Neither Israel nor Hamas seems really content with this accord. Already we see resistance. And the reality, James, is the only long-term possible solution is a two-state solution that's supposed by both Netanyahu and Hamas. Until they are both gone, the patterns of violence may subside for a while, as they will now, but there's not going to be anything approaching peace. And for those who say this elevates Trump's political clout, I wrote about Jimmy Carter's Camp David 1978 Accords, probably even a bigger deal when Egypt was the first Arab state to deal with Israel, and it didn't help much. And finally, I do give them credit, but at the same time, one got the impression that his negotiator, Stephen Witkoff, son-in-law Jared Kushner, and Trump at the same time were figuring out financial deals for all this. So, it was a good day. Let's give him credit, but let's not overinflate it.
Yeah, I remember you wrote something about the Treaty of Versailles and Woodrow Wilson, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that is true. It's stopping this, bringing these hostages back. I don't know, you can say, well, it may not last that long, but you know what? He did it, and I think he deserves some credit for it.
Right.
They just do, and should do it. Look at all the credit that Jimmy Carter got for Camp David, that George H.W. Bush got when the Berlin Wall fell. But they're having a legitimate, kind of moment in the sun, and that's fine. And hopefully this thing will hold. We'll see. But I don't have any problem with saying that they did something which, as of now, other people failed to do.
Yeah, no, that's true. And as I said, I mean, we called on Biden to get tough with Netanyahu, and he wouldn't do it. I mean, that really was a huge mistake, because it's the only way to get anything done over there. I think the follow-through is going to be more difficult. But again, I'm picking up from Tom Friedman on this, but also the great Martin Indyk, the late Martin Indyk. There's no way that you're going to have anything approaching a semi-peace in that region until you get a Palestinian state. That's just a reality.
Yeah, they're going to have to come up with Clinton and Ehud Barak came up with. It's not going to. Friedman and other people have said it's not a secret how you do this.
Right.
It's not a secret. Okay, you have a Palestinian state. You have to have support, from other Arab countries, the United States, to rebuild Gaza, and you have to have some security arrangements. You have to have a buffer zone. You have to pull back from the settlements. I mean, it's not. If they can get to that, great. But I mean, as of right now, hostages are home and the guns are silent. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah, it's
Just
a good
take that.
it's a
That's
good day.
good.
It's a good week. I hope it lasts for a while.
Yes, me too.
James, go ahead.
No, I don't want nothing else.
Let's turn home. Politico broke a stunning story. They got a hold of private telegram chats from young Republican leaders. These were the Republicans of the future, supposedly. And among other things, these telegram chats said, and I quote, "I love Hitler," end quote. Opponents are going to the gas chamber. They made fun of expecting Jews to be honest. They referred to blacks as watermelon people and monkeys. They said, I love to watch people burn. And they said their hero, Donald Trump, was busy burning the Epstein files. At least one of these group participants that we know of works in the Trump administration. So how, James, did Republicans react to this?
Well, there's only, to me, out of this thing, there's only one thing that really matters. Look, these bunch of fucking racist kids. Did anybody not know this is who a segment of the young Republicans were? I can tell you all young Republicans are like this, but everybody knew that this was a kind of draw for a number of them. There's only one thing to look at. J.D. Vance said, oh, it's just a lot of pearl clutching. It's just Heinrich and Reinhardt and Klaus and a bunch of the boys having a little fun. Maybe they broke a couple of shop windows. Who gives a damn? All right, so anytime that any Democrat says something really stupid, all right, then it's all, oh my God, and such, you got to read what J.D. Vance said. That's right, J.D. fucking Vance, the vice president of the United States, thought it was funny and thought people were just overreacting to it. And if the Democrats in a Democratic leaning media, I don't know, mainstream media, lamestream media, these fucking kids are not the issue. The issue is J.D. Vance. And are we going to let J.D. Vance, because we know when Trump was running, people forget this. I do not. Oh, David Duke, I don't know much about. I don't know who is that guy. All right, you knew exactly what they were doing. They needed these votes. They can't win without these votes. J.D. Vance knows he can't get the nomination without these votes. And what you do in politics is the same thing you do in sports. Or in boxing, if they're going to come in close, you make them pay. We do not make them pay. We're sitting here worried about some little 20-year-old snot nose in Kansas who's an insignificant little shit if one ever lived, and we're not focusing on the big target, on the main target, which is J.D. Vance. And we know, everybody calm down. I'm not saying that all Trump supporters are racist, but I will say this: all racists are Trump supporters. Okay, there's not a person on this group chat that's ever voted for a Democrat.
Yeah,
but J.D. Vance is fine with it. It's just a little just like Trump had no problem at all with David Duke. I hardly know the guy. What about him? Yeah, sure. And if we don't make them, and they get the benefit of this, they get the votes. All right, they get all the votes from all of these people, and we don't make them pay. We just let them come inside on us. We don't knock them back. And I cannot tell you how illustrative this little brouhaha and how instructive it is about how the non-racist part of the United States deals with these things. They're outgunning us. They're making us pay for every little goofy thing that every goofy Democrat says in one place or another, and we just let them. And we talk about the Kansas Republican who somehow the guy's name is, and really don't give a shit. But that's my overall take on this. It's all about J.D. Vance. It's all about David Duke. It's all about us letting them get away with these appeals to these racist voters that we don't make them pay for.
Well, James, I 100% agree. I also would say I am convinced that there are, with some really, really prodigious research, which I don't have the capacity to do, there are a number of neo-Nazis buried in the bowels of this administration because that's part of their constituency. We know about it. one already
We're
ready.
naming military bases against racists and traitors.
Right, and
Is
one
that
of
doing
them,
it right in front of you?
one of them we know, Mr. Ingracia, and the reason I want more on that is because this administration's entire attack, phony attack against universities and colleges is based on their standing up against anti-Semitism. Bullshit. That's
Oh,
part of their
God.
constituency.
And then, you know, you have, think of how much, all right, this is a really dumb thing. All right, well, got to get that out of the way of what the AG Senate candidate texted to another delegate or something like that. There's no evidence that this guy's a violent person. He was stupid. Apologize. Everybody's heard about that. Who's heard about J.D. Vance's deal? And then you hear the commentary. This is what gets to me. Oh, the young blacks didn't show up. Young black males didn't show up because they just don't feel like they have a stake in the election. They don't feel like they have a stake in the country. They're divorced from politics. When you see J.D. Vance, the vice president of the United States of America, the probable Republican nominee for president of the United States of America, saying that this anti-Semitism, this horrible racism is just a little locker room towel snapping. And why should you give a shit? And you got every commentator, every cable TV jock, every political commentator says they don't have a stake in it anymore. They've been left out. Well, you know what? J.D. Vance and these kids on this chain they have, they're going to include you, and it ain't going to be in a good way. Let me tell you. So you do have you have a lot at stake here because you're going to get included.
I don't think you're going to let people forget about Mr. Vance.
No, no. I am to J.D. Vance of what they said rooted in 9/11, a noun, a verb, in J.D. Vance.
We get I get notices or I get emails. It says, you never criticize Democrats. That's actually not true.
Oh, God.
But anyway,
what are people fucking talking about?
I am going to express a criticism of a Democrat I admire, and that is Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, a serious lawmaker, a good guy. But it was disappointing when he criticized former special counsel Jack Smith for examining the phone records of some senators in his investigation of Trump's efforts on the January 6th to overturn the previous election. One of those senators, South Carolina's Lindsey Graham, called election officials in Georgia, which Biden had won, to see if they could turn it around. A grand jury even wanted to indict him. Another, Wisconsin's Ron Johnson, tried to send a set of fake electors, Biden carried the Badger State too, to Vice President Pence. Both of those were part of the Smith investigation and mandate. If he hadn't investigated these actions, it would have been a dereliction of duty. Senator Coons, you are a very decent and able lawmaker. But even in these acrimonious times, I fear you still see the Senate as a club. Lindsey Graham and Ron Johnson don't deserve to be treated any differently than any ordinary citizen. Jack Smith was right, and your criticism only gave fodder to the Trump apologists on that score.
Well, first of all, the motor mouth said, "Say you never criticize Democrats." Maybe they don't listen to the show. This podcast, Politics 2020 War Room, was the most relentlessly Biden shouldn't run for re-election podcasts, newscasts, anything else that there was in the United States. So I don't know what the fuck these people are talking about other than just running their stupid mouths. But I don't know, man. I didn't get enough sleep last night, so I'm cranky.
I had the same problem. All right. Anyway, Chris Coons, my criticism of you pales, however, next to what Mr. Carville has said to J.D. Vance.
Yeah. I like Chris Coons, is a nice guy. He was just trying to be a club member, and he was probably trying to get an extra vote in the committee to get some bullshit bill out. But you're forgiven. Acknowledged.
Sort of.
Bad move. Forgiven.